So here is my Pokemon Nationals 2012 tournament report. I went 6-3 but missed out on Top Cut. So while I had a winning record, I also improved my record from last year. Last year I went 5-4. Was able to leave, unfortunately they didn't give out championship points that far down. I think we had I think it was 1,007 players in the Masters division, record-breaking a turnout, and that was actually kind of surprising because with the new play points, I know a lot of people that wanted to go and were able to go, but didn't have the play points to actually play. So I feel like if they hadn't done the play points thing, we would have had maybe like 1,300 people in the Masters division, which would have been awesome. So they broke us up into two flights, like two big pods of people. In my pod, I was number 124th after going 6-3. There were only like 10 6-3s that made it into Top Cut, and those are pretty much people that had done well at other tournaments, like at regionals and stuff like that, and gotten buys. And when you get a buy, which is pretty much a free win, they also give you like this insane resistance. I really don't agree with the insane resistance that's attached to the buys, because it pretty much says I can come into nationals, I can lose a bunch of games and still get into Top Cut, without really working nearly as hard as anyone else. So while I don't really agree with that, yeah, pretty much, like I said, all the 6-3s, at least in our pod, I think, were pretty much just people that had gotten previous wins and so had the amazing resistances. Either way, at 124, I wasn't anywhere close to be hitting, what was it, top 64? So, yeah, that wasn't really even an option for me, but it was kind of a bummer to see some really good players come very close to hitting Top Cut and missing out because someone that had free wins had taken their spot. So I'm going to go ahead and start off by showing my deck list. Oh, I do want to mention though that while I may not have hit Top Cut or anything at regionals, my overall performance for the season was really, really nice. I think my ELO was like 1780 or something like that. Definitely much higher than last year. I was number 6 in my state, in North Carolina, and I think number 114 in the nation. And for championship points, I didn't look it up for ELO because the ranking, because that really the ranking only goes in for tiebreakers and stuff. So I was pretty happy with my overall performance. I had a really good season. May not be going to Worlds this year, or well, I won't be going to Worlds this year, but despite not being able to make it to Worlds this year because I didn't do well enough, I still think I had a great season, and hopefully next season I'll be able to give you guys some more, deck reports and or deck reviews and tournament reports and stuff like that, and just maybe really be more involved with the game. But we'll see what happens, how busy things get, and yeah. So I'm gonna go ahead and start off by showing my deck list. I decided to, with the big booster opening, I actually had done no playtesting whatsoever. So I went with a version of Zekeels Terrakion with a heavy Terrakion line, and that was pretty much because I've been playing some version of an electric deck for about half of the season. So it was something I was very comfortable with, and the big thing with Nationals is a lot of people say go with something rogue, go with something different, because you're just straight up meta decks are not going to win. You can argue that as much as you want, but the point is that if you're not comfortable with whatever deck you're playing, you're not going to do well. So if you're comfortable with a mainstream meta deck, then that's what you need to go with. So I was pretty happy with my deck choice. I played it pretty well, I think. I'll go through my matches, what I remember of them in a bit. I did take some notes on my phone to try and help out remembering them, and I'll kind of talk about some of the misplays I made and that I can remember, and yeah. So I ran one Smeargle, which before in Zekeels I had run a much heavier Smeargle line, but I found that typically I was wasting too many prizes on losing Smeargles, getting set up, and really I didn't necessarily need a full bench to get going. So having just the one Smeargle, which even just later in the game, to be able to have a free retreater usually worked out really well for me. I ran a 4-3 line of Tynamo, which actually deck's kind of thick, so I'll just kind of set it down. yeah, 4/3 line of Electric Dynamo, obviously Dynamotor, puts energy from the discard pile onto a bench Pokemon. I did a 2-2 split with the Dynamos. 2 of the Sparks does 10 damage to your opponent and 10 damage to the bench. 2 of the paralyzing Dynamos, because if you're forced to attack with the Dynamo, you never know which one you're going to need. So that's why you go with the split. I did find at one point that in one of my games, I think it was actually a pickup game though, I actually did use the Spark Dynamo to be able to knock out a Pokemon on the bench that was a little more threatening. I think it was a Smeargle, just to make sure that he couldn't get back into the game. And I did try, I think, the Paralysis Dynamo once, but flipped tails. But had I hit the heads, it definitely would have kept me in the game. So 4/3 line of Electric. 2 Zekrom as my main attackers. I kind of wish I had more, but really the list was way too tight and just could not find the room. 2 Mewtwo. There were a lot more CMT, Celebi Mewtwo, which instead of Celebi Mewtwo Tornadus, it ended up being more of Celebi Mewtwo Terrakion, that we saw in this tournament. So I was really happy that I did put the extra, or kept the extra Mewtwo. A lot of people went down to 1 Mewtwo in the deck, but with the second Mewtwo, you really have a good shot of being able to hold your own in a Mewtwo war. Even if they run 3 Mewtwo, you do run Super Rod, so you're able to get those back if needed. I ran 1 Raikou EX, and a bunch of people would have said this was a mistake. However, there were a lot of Vileplume decks going on, and if I only ran into one of them. However, Raikou is your big Vileplume counter. For a lot of Vileplume decks are running flippy cards like Victini, so you're going to use your Raikou first to knock out those Victinis so that they have a harder time flipping and getting into those status conditions that they really want. And then you can focus on their Vileplumes. Raikou EX is just, if they put something up to just stall that you can't knock out, Raikou EX is just great to be able to put some damage on the bench and just put the pressure on. Because often against Vileplume decks, you're going to take an early prize lead anyways, and Raikou is great for getting those last few. The biggest change I think I made to my Zeals list was adding the second Terrakion. Second Terrakion, because not only did I expect to see a lot of mirror matches, a lot of Zeals, but Darkrai is obviously made a huge showing, and with Darkrai being weak to fighting, making sure I had the second Terrakion in so I could keep up a stream of retaliations, or even land crushes if I could get them off, was really, really crucial. And the last Pokemon I ran is a single Celebration Wind Shaman. This is I absolutely love this card. You never knew when you may need it just to move all your energy onto a Mewtwo to get the last knockout. Often I would find that I'd have to, my only energy attachment for the turn would have to be a DCE or a fighting energy, and I could put this onto something that I really didn't care about just to save it for later to be able to Shaman, move it around. The biggest cases were when I had a Juniper in hand and, had a fighting or DC or something that I really didn't want to throw out. Could always attach it and then just plan on using Shaman to move it around later on. So that card really saved me several times just to be able to get crucial knockouts. If you notice the cut there, I did run out of battery, so I should be good now. Swapped it out. So now let's go on to the supporter line. I chose something really simple because I hadn't been playtesting with this a lot. I didn't want to risk forgetting what I ran. So I just ran 3 of each. 3 N, 3 Juniper, and 3 Pont. I found that worked really well for me because I still had the Smeargle to be able to portrait, my opponent's N, Pont, Juniper, something like that to keep up a good supporter flow. With only 9 supporters, though, I did run 2 random receiver so that I could be able, if I was struggling to get into those supporters, I could get into there. And now on to the great trainers. So let me go ahead and grab this nice big stack. All right, so 3 dual ball. I went with the dual ball over collector just for speed. I rarely flip double tails. I did flip it a few times. In one game, I actually flipped quad tails. But good thing is that you're recoverable with Junk Arm. You still have your level ball, ultra ball, so you still have ways to get Pokemon out. And with Juniper and Pont, typically you're drawing into Pokemon as well. So the 3 dual ball were really the only things I need, only cards I need to be able to as my main Pokemon searchers. 2 switch. 2 switch was crucial. Electric has 2 retreat. Terrakion has a 4 retreat, and even with Sky Arrow, still a 3 retreat, so switches were crucial. In case they brought up well, even after attacking with Terrakion, you wanted to get him back out of the way to hopefully use him later, and then, often people would just catcher up electrics to try and stall you for a little while. 3 catcher, obviously to bring up opponent's bench Pokemon to get those nice knockouts. 2 level ball, this is great for pretty much anything but Terrakion. Well, it doesn't work for Zekrom either, but, your electrics, your Dynamos, Smeargles, yeah, lots of great stuff. Even Shaman. 2 plus power, because when you're bolt striking with Zekrom, trying to knock out a Terrakion, you really need that extra plus power. Sometimes a double plus power if you're trying to knock out a Kling Klang. There's just lots of good times to use a plus power, and I actually dropped my Eviolites just for those plus powers. 1 Ultra Ball. The Ultra Ball is actually a card that I rarely used, but I found that when I did use it, it was kind of a crucial thing. I was junk arming for an Ultra Ball to be able to guarantee searching out a Pokemon. There were just so many times that if I had the extra 2 cards in my hand to throw out for the Ultra Ball, that's when I do it. Otherwise, I got to risk a Dual Ball and risk a Double Tails, which for me, happens much more frequently than I'd like. Card I love, Energy Search. HCSS Prime, we had been talking this up for, off and on for a while before Nats, and I still was kind of like, but the night before the tournament, I threw this in and was testing it out and absolutely loved it. It's great to be able to search those fighting energy out. Often if I had it in my hand and had a Juniper in my hand, it was great to just be able to get a lightning energy to be able to throw into the discard pile to be able to use later on with electric. If it was in the discard pile, I could always junk arm for it to be able to search out that fighting energy to ensure that retaliate knockout with Terrakion. Just so many good times that that really came in handy. 1 Super Rod, because you never know when you're going to need something back, when you have when you have to Juniper away a great hand and lots of good Pokemon. 4 Junk Arm, because let's face it, you're gonna want to be throwing lightning into the discard pile anyways, so you have stuff you're gonna want to get rid of, and being able to reuse anything from an Energy Search to a Super Rod to catchers, switches, you really want your options. And then the last card I ran, 2 Sky Arrow Bridge. Great combination with Smeargle to be able to get that free retreat, to be able to Dynamotor onto the bench and just move it on back. Also great with Shaman, or leaving up it's pretty much a Smeargle or a Shaman that I was using as my free retreater. And now on to the energy line. So I ran 3, 6, 7 lightning energy. Perfect for those Dynamotors. 3 fightings, and bumped it. Typically I only run 2 with the 1 Terrakion, but since I now run double Terrakion, I bumped it up to 3, which is, yeah, crucial. So many times you had to Juniper 1 away or something like that, and yeah, you really needed to make sure you had those last 2 in the deck to be able to draw into. And then 2 DCE, and this was a card that I was actually kind of hesitant to put in there, was thinking maybe another fighting and lightning instead. However, even though Mewtwo is not my main attacker, there's so many times that hitting that DCE Mewtwo combination, I wasn't able to donk in the tournament, but just getting that combination to get a final knockout, or even using the DCE as retreaters so I didn't have to burn switches, was really, really crucial. So that was my deck list. Like I said, I went 6-3 with it, so it's pretty decent. And now I'm going to go over my matches, or at least what I can remember of them. So, like I said, I kind of made notes in my phone, and I'll kind of have to go with them. So I didn't write down names, so I apologize in advance for not being able to remember people's names. However, I will say that I think it was the first guy, his last name was Durant. And I was like, if this guy plays Durant, I can't really give him a hard time because his last name is Durant. But it ended up that he was playing Darkrai Terrakion. I think we both got, no, I think he got a decent start, but I had a really slow start, struggling to get into supporters or my Smeargle. And the only card I was actually able to attack with for the longest time was Mewtwo. finally, I was able, I essentially just put all my resources, which little as they were, into the Mewtwo, was able to get a knockout and pulled the N on my prizes. And I think I don't remember if he had really taken any prizes, but the big thing was that my hand was just so terrible, I really needed that N just to be able to shuffle in. I actually did win pretty much with Mewtwo. With just having a loaded up Mewtwo. I think I had at one point 2 DCE on it, 3 Lightning. Yeah. So really Mewtwo was the card that won me the game there. So this next game, it should have been an auto win for me. He was playing Raikou Eels with Zekrom EX, and Zekrom is great for knocking out the Terrakions, I will give him that, but he didn't run Terrakion as lightning counter, so even I should have still been able to retaliate and get 2 prizes off of his EXs, and him only being able to get the 1 off of mine. Heavy electric line, heavy Raikou line to be able to just power up Raikou off and on, or not off and on, but continuously power up Raikou. I did make a huge misplay in the beginning. I had the opportunity to knock out the Zekrom. I can't remember if it was with a retaliate or not. And I think I had the catcher in hand to be able to knock it out, but I decided to go for, I think what I did was I captured up an eel instead. What I think I was trying to go for was if I could take out his energy acceleration, because all of his Raikou and Zekrom were so reliant on discarding energy, that if I took out his energy acceleration, it would just slow him too much, and then I could just wipe out what was left of the field. That plan probably would have worked if I hadn't hit a what was it? I think he ended me, and I hit nothing, and I just kept on dead drawing. I probably still would have had a decent shot at coming back, but he just was able to keep on getting the electrics back up. I think he even super rotted electrics in, and just I kept on knocking them out, and he just kept on putting them back up. It was really amazing, the constant stream of eels that he could continuously keep up, and he always had 2, if not 3 in play at a time. By the time I realized that the going for the eels was pointless, it was pretty much too late, and I think I lost by like 1 prize or something like that. What really hit me though was, cause it was such a really close game, is that he used Thunderfang, on his, last turn or close to last turn, one of the later turns, and paralyzed my Zekrom. I had already burned, I think, 1 or 2 switches and 2 or 3 junk arms. I still had a chance, I think, of drawing into the 1 junk arm to get the switch out, but I wasn't able to pull it. So that paralysis was pretty much what gave him the extra turn he needed to pretty much take the game. Still, like I said, a really, really close game, and I probably should have just gone for getting the double prizes on the EXs, but I was just more concerned about if I didn't take out his energy acceleration, he would just be able to keep on coming back and hitting me and hitting me and hitting me. Until I eventually didn't have, because I really don't run that many attackers. So that was my biggest concern, was once he took out my Terrakions with his Zekroms, with the 3 eel in play, he could easily get them back up, and I was just so hoping that if I could get those eels, or at least slow down the eels to a point, that he wouldn't be able to take out my precious Zekroms. But that didn't quite work out, but still really awesome, really close game. I think I kind of wanted to win that one more, because this was a guy that had I don't know how to say it. Someone had got me a connection with him because he wanted to buy a bunch of collectors and stuff like that, and I kept these cards on set aside for him for like 3 months. And he kept on saying he'd pay and pay and pay, and he never did. So when I saw I was going up against him, he didn't even remember me. I really wanted just to beat him to kind of for wasting all that time and all the potential sales and stuff that I turned down. So unfortunately, it didn't work out. I don't think he did very well in the rest of the tournament though. So he pretty much got some good luck keeping those eels going, but I don't think his that luck lasted for the rest of his games. So my third game was against another Darkrai Terrakion, and this was such a close game. One of my biggest faults as a player is that I'm a slow player. And if I'm ever playing you and you think I'm slow playing, it is not intentional, I promise. I'm just a very methodical thinker. I try and, think about all my options, and often I just take too long just reconsidering and reconsidering and reconsidering. I am getting better at that. I am beginning much, much, much faster as a player. But that is still one of my weaknesses, and this was definitely a weakness that hit me in this game. So I really got a slow start. I was struggling I could not hit my sky arrows, so I had to waste a lot of junk arms and switches to be able to continuously put the pressure on. I feel like it was just a general slow start. And so I was really, really behind on prizes. But once I finally started going, I really started catching up, and I had it, pretty much what it came down to was I lost the game on time, and that's what I was talking about. My weaknesses is just being a slow player. Had I played the game much faster, I really think I would have won, but time was called. I took 2 prizes that turn, and I feel like he had 3 prizes left, and what was it? No, I think he had 2 prizes left, and I had 4. So on my next turn, I could get I had a guaranteed knockout on a Darkrai, so I could have tied the prizes up. So really all he had to do, was because we were on time, because time was called on my turn, not his, is he just had to take 1 prize. He was able to get another Darkrai loaded up, and Night Speared a damaged Terrakion on the bench for that 3rd prize. Had it gone to time, which I really wish I could record some of these games, but my next turn, he was 3 prizes ahead of that turn. I couldn't take 3 prizes in 1 turn to be able to stay in the game. However, I could take 2 prizes. I was able to come up, use Terrakion to retaliate and knock out his Darkrai, which put me at 2 prizes to his 1 prize. Had the game continued, he actually was completely out of resources. I think he had a Darkrai on the bench with nothing on it. He had pretty much burned through all of his junk arms, dark patches, everything. I don't even think he had a Smeargle on the field, and I think he only had like 4 cards left in the deck. So had it gone to time, I definitely would have had that game. But again, it was just, I don't know if I really made any big misplays there that I can remember. The biggest thing that I remember was just the slow playing. Now, there were a few times where I just hit a little bit of bad luck where, I would Juniper to hit, really needing to hit a junk arm or something like that. I do remember that I Junipered once, and all I needed was just 1 energy, any kind of energy, and I completely missed it. And this was the beginning of the game when I had plenty of energy left. So, but he had similar luck as well. I think he junk armed once and just needed 1 energy to be able to get going, and he missed out on it too. So we pretty much had equal bad luck on just whiffing on crucial plays. But it was really my slowness that lost me that game. So my 4th game, going into my 4th game, I was pretty depressed. I was 1-2 and realized that even if I, if I won out from that point, I definitely I'd be in top cut. However, if I lost 1 more game, that'd be it, because my resistance would be so shot from losing so early that I would have no chance whatsoever. So I was really, really nervous going into the 4th game, and it was probably one of the worst games I've ever had. I won it, but not the way I wanted to win it. I won it all on Zekeels Outrage. So we both had terrible, terrible luck. Neither one of us drew into a supporter the entire game. The game only lasted maybe 10 turns or so, but still, after 10 turns, you would think one of us would have hit a supporter. So basically, I start Zekrom DCE and a bunch of Pokemon. I don't even hit trainers. He starts with a Celebi and a Terrakion. So turn 1, he attaches the fighting, uses Celebi to attach a grass. I think he retreats with Sky Arrow or a Switch, and hits me for 60. Good play, even though I do more with Zekrom's Outrage. Being that that I wasn't hitting supporters either, it was really good just to put the pressure on. So I attached the DCE, Outrage for 80, and and that's it. He goes on his turn, whiffs, and he can't get a thing. So he has to just attack me again for 60, which puts me, I think he he couldn't even hit the plus power, which puts me at 120, 10 short. Now, this could seem like a misplay. However, in any normal game where you're going to hit a supporter, being able to get that last 10 off of on a Zekrom would be easy, no problem whatsoever. And him losing a Terrakion, I mean, really, we would have been we each would have lost one prize early on. Had it been a normal game, that really would not have been a big sacrifice. So it wasn't really a big deal to put the 120 on me. I come back, just outrage, knock him out, take a prize. Still no supporter. He puts up the Celebi, puts something else on the bench, but whiffs energy completely. Still no supporters. I outrage for the knockout. He puts up something else. He puts a Terrakion on the bench with 1 energy on it, so it's not ready to attack quite yet. And passes. My next turn, I catcher it up, play the plus power, knock it out. We're still not hitting supporters, and so that was pretty much the rest of the game. I just outraged and knocked out 6 Pokemon for my 6 prizes. It was really sad doing it that way. Oh, the last turn, though, he did put down a Tornadus because he knew it was the end of Tornadus EX, and I was able to outrage to take the last 2 prizes. But still, or no, I think I was still down at 1 prize. He just put it up there because why not? It was definitely one of the saddest games I've ever played. I hate to win that way, but I mean, at least I can say my luck was just as terrible. Yeah, it was just a really frustrating game to have to win, and I felt really bad for the guy. Just, my poor little Zekrom, I couldn't even take out 1 more hit point on it. So, really, really weird game, but after that I was at 2-2, so I was like, well, I still have a shot. So there was a lot of pressure on my 5th game because it was the last game of the day. I really wanted that winning record to be able to go into the next day to have at least a shot at top cut. So I was pretty nervous going into this match. You can actually read a little bit more about this match on a 6 Prizes article. I think the guy's name is Rockman or something like that. Now, our versions of the game are quite different. I did win the game. However, according to him, I had a god game, and it was so far from that. This guy, he had some bad luck. He mulliganed and went second. Honestly, mulliganing, if I could say that right, hitting a mulligan in a Darkrai deck, when I play Darkrai, I hit mulligans all the time. I even hit mulligans all the time in Zeals, so 1 mulligan is really not that big a deal, and you had a 50-50 chance of going second, so, I mean, really, I don't consider that to be a god start, being that I got 1 extra card and I got to go first. Definitely helps, but definitely not a god start. I made a ton of misplays in this match, and I ended up because of those misplays, I ended up having to burn through a lot of my resources to correct them. Like on one, I if I could get, I think it was a switch and a catcher. I could pull up a Darkrai on the bench for an easy 2 prizes and would really put me ahead in the game. And I put so many resources into getting that, and then I didn't get it, that on my next turn, I was still in that mindset of I needed the switch and the catcher, and then I hit the junk arm on the turn for my on the draw for my next turn, and I immediately went for the switch, not realizing that because he had knocked out a Pokemon, the card that I needed wasn't the switch, was the catcher. So then I had to just burn, I think I just had to burn the switch for something useless, and then Juniper away my hand to get another junk arm to get the catcher to be able to get that knockout on the Darkrai. That was the big mistake that I remember making, but I just remember having, usually I just didn't have a lot in my hand, and I was having just to burn stuff, like throwing away good stuff with Juniper, throwing away good stuff with junk arms, and utilizing a super rod to be able to put it back in, to be able to keep things going. If you read his version, he's like, oh, she just drew into everything she needed whenever she needed. No, if you looked at it, I was junk arming like crazy. I was junipering like crazy and burning through a lot of my deck to get what I needed. Now, the funny thing is that as much as he says I had the God game, I won by tricking him. I had used up all of my catchers, and I had one junk arm left. I didn't have a supporter in my hand. I had really no way of getting to that catcher. And I had 2 prizes left to take. What I did was I attached a second fighting energy to Terrakion and went ahead and dynamoted onto it, so I had a Terrakion ready to go with Land Crush, and he had an empty Darkrai on his bench. So he's looking at it, and he's, the whole point of doing that was to kind of make him nervous, to threaten him with that Darkrai that, hey, it doesn't matter what you do, all I need to do is hit the catcher. Had he checked my discard pile and realized the chances of me drawing into that one junk arm, I think I had already used all my Junipers, all my Ponts, and I think I had like 1, maybe 2 ends left, but I only had 2 cards, so that really wouldn't have helped. But I had the DCE and Mewtwo in my hand. So I ended up just attaching the fighting energy to the Terrakion, and I think I ended up passing. I don't think I even attacked. So he sees this Terrakion on the bench, and maybe he thought that I had a way of getting the catcher next turn, or using a supporter next turn to be able to get into the catcher. So he did exactly what I wanted him to do. Because that Terrakion was so much of a threat, he plays down the Mewtwo, the DCE, what else does he do? I guess I think he had to shaman some more stuff onto the Mewtwo, because that'd be like 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Yeah, I think he had to Celebration Wind with Shaman, more energy onto the Mewtwo to be able to get the knockout on the Terrakion. I think he even had to use a plus power. But that was my goal, was if I could get him to force him to play down the Mewtwo to get out that knockout on the Terrakion so he wouldn't be so threatened, then I could just play down my Mewtwo and go. I already had 1 Mewtwo in the discard pile. I think he only thought I ran 1 Mewtwo. And, because I'd put all my resources into that Terrakion, I don't think he really saw the Mewtwo DCE combo coming. So what he should have done, and really honestly, had he been like, I don't want to say he wasn't a good player, but had he been like one of the really top players, all of my misplays that I made, and I know there was more in that game than just the that one catcher switch missing combo, he should have been able to exploit all of those misplays, because I would make them, and like 10 seconds after that was thinking, oh man, if he does this, I'm screwed. And he didn't do it. Now that maybe he didn't have the resources to do it, but he had pretty good hand sizes. Really the only thing he didn't hit were junk arms, but he was hitting pretty much everything else. And honestly, not hitting a junk arm until late in the game is not that bad of a thing, because that just means you can use a lot of resources late game to be able to catch up. So really loading up, and I knew this. I knew he hadn't used the junk arms. I knew he had a ton of resources late game, which is why I pretty much baited him essentially with the Terrakion to force him to pull out the Mewtwo so that I could come back Mewtwo. Now what he should have done was end me. I had a decent sized hand. He should have just assumed that I had a Mewtwo and DCE in hand when I loaded up that Terrakion, rather than assuming that I could get into a catcher, because if I had the catcher I would have used it. So it was obvious that I didn't. So what he should have done was tried to end me, and you know what? I actually think I had an N in hand, but obviously I wouldn't want to play it. If he had portraited, I think he did have a Smeargle on the bench, he would have been able to use it that way. So I would just say that was a huge misplay on his part. But yeah, if you read his bit of a tournament report, he says I just had a god game. I screwed up that game so bad, and just burned through a lot of my deck, and then just had I not gone for the Terrakion bait, I don't know if I would have had enough resources left to be able to finish off the game. So that would have been really interesting. And anyways, that was my fifth game win. So then we're on to the second day, where we've got 4 more games. So in my 6th game, the first game of day 2, I face a Kling deck. And Kling is actually what won Pokemon Nationals, but this wasn't I actually didn't play the guy that won Nationals. Kling is a pretty difficult deck to beat. If they get the turn 2 Kling, and they can just get an energy attachment per turn, you're pretty much screwed. I thought I had a shot because he did start Kyogre EX, but it wasn't meant to be. He got that turn 2 Kling. I portraited for, I I think 2 or 3 Sage, which would have been great, because I can really utilize Sage. I can throw those lightning energy away and really Dynamotor them on, which is why when I knew he had Sage, or figured he had Sage in his hand, I portraited. I had the worst luck when it came to Sage. There was one Sage where I hit like 2 of my 3 fighting energy and 3 supporters. Another Sage, I hit all Pokemon, like all attackers. And I had to throw away 3 of them. There was something else. It was pretty much not being able to hit when I was doing those Sages, having to throw away so much stuff. Oh, and my Super Rod was prized. So that really, it killed me. Essentially, I ran out of attackers, and once Clang Clang gets set up and gets his energy on the field, there's really nothing, Zekeels can do. I know at one point I had used Catcher to bring up a Kyogre, hoping to pull into the Super Rod, or a supporter, one of my few remaining supporters, and whiffed on both. So I put up a struggle, but yeah, he pretty much had the game. Yeah, Clang Clang is really a great deck, and yeah, it's one that I wish I had really playtested more against. I only played against it, I think, once in a Battle Roads when I was playing Darkrai. So, really great deck, and yeah, really interesting idea and combination how it works. So, my Game 7 Game 7 was awesome. I was playing Excelgor Vileplume with a heavy Sunflora line. Unfortunately, he gets a slow start. He starts out Tornadus EX. He has to attach 2 DCE to keep the pressure on me. Because I did get a little bit of a slow start, and he was able to set up a double Sunflora and then use that double Sunflora to get into the Vileplume. I was able to burn through a bunch of trainers, though, before he got that Vileplume up, which was really helpful. And, yeah, but him attaching having to attach those 2 DCE to Tornadus to be able to attack and get forget what he knocked out, but it was a crucial knockout at the time, is really what killed him, because those DCE was something he really, really needed to keep his Excelgor up. Basically what Excelgor does is that, once you have Vileplume, it paralyzes and poisons you, and then you shuffle it back into your deck. And then you use those double Sunflora to get it back out again, use some stuff to hopefully get the DCE back again, and keep on going. Essentially just keep this lock up. So basically the only, what I ended up doing is I did end up using my Raikou. I ended up using a Raikou, I think, to take out an Excelgor at one point. I think I may have used it to take out a Sunflora as well. So, yeah, Raikou really, really saved the day. However, what actually will save the day more than anything was N. So basically, I get Raikou set up to take a prize. Then I N us down. I think I had like 1 prize left. I think he had 2 or 3, so I knew I was ending myself down to a really, really, really low hand. However, I was set up and ready to go, and by ending him down to nothing, I really, really reduced the chance of him being able to get that DCE back. He didn't have any energy on the field. So from a 3... and I had taken out the 1 Sunflora, so he really needed a lot to be able to get back in it. And unfortunately, off of his N, he just couldn't take it out, and I was able to reload up a Raikou. I think I'd taken the Raikou prize the turn before, so Raikou was back on the bench. I was able to reload him up with Dynamotor and Snipe to take out the last prize. But that was an amazingly close game, and was actually the first time I'd ever played against an Excelgor deck. Guy was really awesome, and just such a close game. I was really, really excited that it was such an awesome game. Yeah. And I was more also excited just to be able to use that good old Raikou, because so many people have been saying, "Oh, Raikou's not worth it," and that Raikou saved me. Definitely saved the day for me. So I have no idea how I missed it, but Game 8 I actually did not write anything down for, and I cannot remember a thing about it. It was such a long day that I'm thinking it was a deck that I had already played, like another Celebi Mewtwo, another Darkrai, another Eels. I'm thinking it was more of another Eels that I faced, and I think it was another pretty close game. Like I don't remember it being something that I just swept right through or something that I really struggled through. I think it was something that was just slightly in my favor throughout the game. And yeah, so unfortunately, if to whoever my 8th round opponent was, I'm unable to remember any more details right now. But yeah, I'm sorry. Round 9 though, I was so disappointed with round 9. So my record is, what is it at this point? We've had 8 games. I'm 6-3. No, that was what I ended up. I'm 5-3. Yes, I'm 5-3. So I know I have to win the next game to be able to even have a shot at top cut. There's still a possibility of it, very slim. It just really depends on my opponents, if they dropped, what their resistances are, stuff like that. They get the pairings up, and I'm paired down. I'm 5-3. I'm paired down to a 4-4. Being paired down, especially on your last game, it destroys your resistance. That I almost didn't even bother playing the game because I was like, well, there's really no point. I'll just go over to the league area, where, you play games for fun and you get stuff for it. But I was like, no, let's just see if I can get a winning record for the tournament. But I was just so bummed out that just by chance I had been paired down, and that destroyed any hope I had of top cut. So I was playing a CMT deck, which it actually went down, it came really, really, really close. It actually came down to time, but I did take the last prize on time, so it was a game that went all the way. It was another girl, and I can't remember her name, but pretty good player, and I really don't remember, I didn't write down many details about this game either. I just remember it was a very slow game. Like I said earlier, I'm a very slow player. I think she was even slower than me. So a lot of it, I was actually sitting beside the guy that had beaten me, I think, in my 3rd game. I was sitting beside him. So I kind of talked to him a little bit throughout the game, and just saying how his day had gone, and stuff like that. So it was a fun, friendly game, and because at this point there was really nothing on the line except winning record. So I did win that one, took the last prize on time. Really not much else to say. Like I said, went 6-3 winning record, but because of being paired down and having my losses, those 2 losses really so early in the day, and that really hurt me, and was not able to hit top cut. But I'm still really happy about how I finished out for the season. This is only my 2nd full season of playing, and I really, really improved upon last year. I think last year I had I think I was like number 20 something in the state, and I was way too far back to look at like what I was in the nation. So being number 6 in the state, and I will have to say I was the number 1 girl in the state. So, which really isn't that big of a feat considering there's only like a handful of us girls that play. So the pool is kind of small, but there are some really good players that are girls in my area. So I guess it's kind of something to be proud of. But I think my ELO, even though ELO ratings don't count for anything anymore, the improvement I saw in it this year was really what I'm most proud of. The championship points are great. I finished out the year with 29 championship points. I was pretty excited about that. My ELO last year was like 1651, I think, and this year was 1784. So really, really made a huge improvement, and I'm hoping to, I don't know if I could beat that for next year because that's already pretty high. However, I hope to continue to do well, to be able to give you guys great tournament reports, and be able to help out with decks and stuff like that more with the channel. Now, I also have 2 Battle Roads reports from this spring that I two second place finishes that I have not made videos for. So I'm gonna try and go back and make them. I just, with the big opening, I just did not have time to do them. So they're gonna be kind of rough Battle Roads reports. Don't remember all my matches very well, but I'm gonna do my best to remember what I can, and hopefully just kind of, yeah, I like tournament reports, so give you guys something else fun to watch. So if you sat through this entire Nationals report, congrats. I'll have a video up soon, if it's not already up, of some of the cool stuff I got at Nationals, and well, I pulled a little footage from it, not much, but that video is probably up by now as well. So, hope you guys enjoyed, and yeah, I will definitely have more tournament reports up in the future.